Don't know if you can see this. It's Arrow Right Through Me by Paul McCartney and Wings. Okay, I've already got issues with using background music, so I won't. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know some of the cosmic characters who are hanging out tonight in the control room of the big show. Okay, so I've got fourth floor of Woodstock. Everyone knows Woodstock is the little bird that's best friends with Snoopy, Charlie Brown's dog. Okay, so if you ever watched the old TV show Barney Miller, it was a cop show, but it wasn't a traditional cop show because it wasn't much about, crime. It was more about the characters. They had really weird characters they would bring into the station, to the precinct. And the cops were very oddball. There was a cop who wasn't really on the floor in the precinct, but he'd come and go, and his name was Inspector Luger. And he would go in to see Captain Miller. Now, I think in the rankings of the police department of New York City, an inspector outranks a captain. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to, go and look. I'm not sure if I could find it. But he always seemed, he was older. Inspector Luger was ready to retire any time. And Captain Miller, he was an older guy, but he wasn't as old as Luger. Kind of funny name, Luger, because that's the name of an old, I think it's a German, some kind of a handgun, Luger. Anyway, Inspector Luger always came in, and Officer Levitt was like the bottom of the heap. He was ranked below the average detectives, who were usually either detective sergeants or, I don't know if there was any, I think they were all pretty much sergeants, but you can be a detective lieutenant. And the captain of the detectives was Barney Miller. Inspector Luger. Anyway, Luger is around and he's eating pepperoni sticks, and no one wants to breathe his breath. We've got a resident DJ, Ken James. We've got the scrubbing bubbles. They come in a can and you use them to wash you spray it on your bathtub. Scrubbing bubbles. Sippy cup. Everyone knows that I drink out of a sippy cup. Why do I drink out of a sippy cup? Because in my control room, one of the people's name is Sippy Cup. Let's see who else is around tonight. Well, Rumpelstiltskin is usually around, although sometimes he's very quiet. He was very odd. For the longest time, all he would do is sit. He had a chair. Rumpelstiltskin. Everyone knows Robert Carlyle from Once Upon a Time plays Rumpelstiltskin, and I've got a version of Rumpelstiltskin in my control room. And okay, so now look, I've got a wooden chair, right? I've got a wooden chair. Rumpelstiltskin sits in a little bit different kind of a chair. I do have one. This one. Okay, this pink one is what Rumpelstiltskin sits in. His is not pink. It's more like this wood one here, but it's like this. And what he does, I'm not going to sit it up because I don't want to break it, but what he does is he tilts it. Okay, so that the feet are up off the ground, and he sits in it when it's tilted back, and he leans it up against the back like this. And then what he does is he's in the chair and he taps his feet. He's always tapping his feet. Now, he's been doing this for such a long time. Now he's saying, well, sometimes I get a piece. If you go and you get a long piece of grass that's got the little end on it, that's got the grass seed on the end, and you can pull it out and chew on it. He's chewing on it now. That's the first time he's done that. But he was very odd today. The first time ever in so long that he's done anything other than sit there. And what he did, he was like a drag queen. First thing he did is he showed me he was wearing woman's white leather, old leather. It wasn't new shoes, but they were not really cream. They were between white and cream, and then they had just been used so much that nobody had taken white shoe polish to them. And he showed me those shoes, and then he showed me, I don't know, some woman, but I think it was more like a drag queen. How does he show it to me? Well, by telepathy in my mind. I'm not seeing like really clear pictures, but with telepathy, you don't, well, it'd be nice to have really clear, once in a blue moon, you have a really clear picture. But a lot of times it's not clear pictures, but it comes multidimensional and you get the idea right away. Telepathy is very weird. You don't need to have words, although sometimes the words come and you're like, too many words. I can't handle the words. But you get images, you get feelings, I don't know, it's telepathy, but it's feelings. I mean, it's not the same as normal feelings. Telepathy is, you have to experience it to know, but you get hints and allegations if they're just trying to send you hints and allegations, or if there's something there. It drives me nuts. Sometimes what they do is it's like if something's on the tip of your tongue, that feeling? It's like, I know the word, it's the tip of my tongue. That's what they do sometimes. It's like there's something that they're hiding. It's like just behind a screen, and they're just letting you know there's something there, and you know what it is, but you don't know what it is. You know there's something there behind the screen, and sometimes they'll give you a hint and allegation. Sometimes there's no hints and allegations, but there's a screen, and you know that there's something behind the screen, behind my hand. Telepathy is very weird when you've got spirit guides. Now, what else? So anyway, I don't have any clue. He's not telling me what it's all about. The other day, they were showing me, not just necessarily Rumpelstiltskin, but some of the other spirit guides were showing me old car, the rear end of the old cars, where they had plastic red kind of circles, and if you hit the brake, these red plastic circles would light up. Now they still have plastic, brake things on the back of new cars, but in the old days, say like in the middle 1960s, there would be very prominent red plastic doohickeys in the back that would light up, and those were the kind I saw. And then we were looking at a book that I got at a library of old Ford historical cars made by Ford Motor Company, and I saw a car that had those kind of taillights in that book. Was it a premonition? I wouldn't say 100%. It was related. What does it mean? I don't know. They're my spirit guides, and part of their job is to keep me interested, and they don't tell me. A lot of the times they don't tell me, and it drives me bonkers, and they laugh and laugh and laugh amongst themselves because I don't know if they know. A lot of times they know bits and pieces, or they let on they don't know, and then they'll just laugh, and then it's like there's a screen and they're behind there, and they'll start laughing, and they'll give me the impression that they know a lot more than they do. But then they're like, it's like very straight-laced when they're straight to my face. They won't even crack a smile. And then look up behind the screen, and then they'll laugh uproariously because the joke's on me. And who are my spirit guides? Well, I've told you some of them. Inspector Luger, Sippy Up, Ken James, the DJ. Oh, there's so many of them that come and go. And then what they do is they go behind the screen, and if I haven't remembered them for a while, I forget that I don't remember them at all. And some of them disappear for long periods of time, and other ones not so much. And it just, for them it's hilarious. For me, sometimes it's very frustrating. Like this morning, I woke up, and sometimes they pretend that they're not even there. And I got up out of bed, and I went to the bathroom to go for a tinkle. That's like an old person's name for going to the bathroom. And I didn't hear anything. And, it was like the old days before I had spirit guides. There was just nothing going on. And then I opened the medicine cabinet, and then guess who started talking to me, commentating? It was Lenny from the Simpsons TV show. And then I got really angry at him. Because I was having a nice quiet time I like quiet, and they know that. And he just started, it's called yipping, talking in your head is called yipping. And so I chewed him out for going and disturbing the peace of my mind. But it was all part and parcel, they basically, they set up Lenny, and, to go and do this. And then they've got a kind of a rotary dial, in the control room, and they turn that. It's labeled aggro, as an aggravation. They turn it up, and that makes me go like, oh, I don't feel good. I'm aggravated. So then what happened is I went downstairs and I put on my Colonel Cliff Serene costume, and then I turned on my smartphone, and Colonel Serene showed up. And I mean, that's what a lot of times what happens. If I put the costume on, a lot of times the character will show up. And then he gave a long lecture. And you can go to Infinite Bob 99. Oh, that's where I am right now. You can listen to Colonel Serene give his lecture. And then after he was done, I did a second lecture. It was about bank manglers. So that was 2 long lectures. And then I did the Bullwinkle lecture just before this one. And now I'm giving you an up-to-date. This hat is the Cricket Legends of Barbados. Now, I haven't been to Barbados. But if you go to Barbados, my last name, same spelling, is very, very common in that island. I don't know why. Anyways, that is what I have to tell you right now. I'm terribly sorry. It's very boring, but at least you know some of the people who are in the control room and they want it to be recognized. I've got something really weird happening in my house. The upstairs toilet has been flushing on its own for about 2 or 3 days now. It's just, earlier tonight it was every 2 or 3 minutes it was flushing. Now that one was a good half an hour between flushes. Why does a toilet flush on its own? It's already been looked at by the resident plumber, and the flapper thing was changed, and it's still doing it. Is the house haunted? Yes. There's a brownie in this house. A brownie is an invisible being. You'd have to look up brownie. It's an invisible being. It's like a house elf or something. It's a brownie. And the brownie goes and makes things disappear out of this house. Things don't normally appear in this house, but they disappear. And I blame the brownie. Everyone else blames the other humans. You took it. And I won't say that I never take things out of the house on purpose. I did one time. I took some, I don't know if it was like Drano crystals, and I didn't like them. I didn't like Drano crystals to be used in the house. I think it's like too strong of a chemical. So I surreptitiously took it out of the house, and I wouldn't, when people said, where did the Drano crystals go on? I don't know. But that was the only time I did it. Everything else that disappears in here, it's the brownie. I had some sage, like if you get sage for doing smudging, I had that in my room, and it disappeared. When we say disappear, we say disappeared. We put an extra R in there. I don't know. It's a Rumpelstiltskinism. I bought some special trick cards. They were a trick deck. And one day I was doing tarot cards, and I put all the cards on my bed, and the bed was all made. And I put all the cards there. I did tarot reading on my side table. And I came to put the cards all away. And lo and behold, I looked for the trick deck. And it disappeared. The box was still there. But the cards themselves from the trick deck disappeared out of the room. And I haven't found them to this day. They disappeared. So there's a brownie. There's a brownie there. It could also be Hazrat. If you read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, he talks about these things as just their everyday occurrences in India. Hazrat is an astral being. It's a being that you can't see and hear. But Hazrat was able to apport objects. Apport means he would take something from the physical, maybe it was an orange, and he would take it from a merchant shop, and he'd bring it into the astral, and then he would drop it back into the physical someplace else. Hazrat. Now, Hazrat, we call it Hazrat, me and the spirit guides, but sometimes this happens. Sometimes I'll be driving in the car, and I'll smell cigarette smoke. There's nobody in the car. I'm not smoking in the car, and I'll smell cigarette smoke. And we'll all say, oh, it's Hazrat. Hazrat is putting smoke in there. And it smells like cigarette smoke. So I know Hazrat is around. He doesn't talk, but we all blame Hazrat. But the brownie is different. The brownie is a different being than Hazrat. I think. I don't think Hazrat is a brownie. I think he's just an astral being. But read that book, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Fascinating book. It was Steve Jobs' favorite book from Apple. There was something about Steve Jobs' name. It was the name Jobs. And I had an interesting anecdote, and I'd completely forgotten about it, so maybe I'll try and remember it, do another video. Okay, so what else do I want to talk about? Those are the only ones that are being told that are in the control room now, but sometimes other ones hide, and they're Pinky hides. Pinky is a parachute guy, and he's all in a pink uniform. I had a dream about a week ago where I was wearing, I think it was like a black urethane jacket. And on the sleeves of the jacket right there, it was sort of this color. It was kind of a gray, and they were like, I don't know what the symbol was, but it was gray. It wasn't like, I think there was two swooshes, and I was smiling, and that's all I got. And I don't know what it is. They're not even letting me say what I think it might have been. What does that mean when they won't let me say? It's like spirit guides, they get blamed for things that I say and do. In the end, it's not them. It's the source fields, which comes directly from God. But the way it comes from God, it appears that it's under the control of the spirit guides. And sometimes that's why I chewed out Lenny from The Simpsons this morning, because it was his voice that was commentating and disturbing my peace, so I chewed him out. And, it's very difficult to explain. The only thing that you can do, as I've said time and time again, is if you meditate and you listen to thoughts in your head, you listen to them, and if you're a good meditator and you get a good meditative book and you learn what the spiritual teacher tells you about thoughts, you will learn that thoughts, a lot of people say, well, they're my thoughts. They're not your thoughts. They're the thoughts that are given for you to observe in your mind, to witness in your mind. If you will shut your big yip and not run your mouth and say everything that comes in your head, if you will just not say the thoughts and just know the thoughts that are in your head and stop saying they're my thoughts and they're just something for you to witness and observe. But you're not saying them out loud. then they're not your thoughts anymore. They're just thoughts. And that's what it's like. Once you meditated long enough, like some of these thoughts, you have the option of speaking them or just, force yourself to shut up. But, to be a normal human, you have to say the thoughts that are given for you to speak. Otherwise, people will think you're autistic, and and if you've been talking your whole life and you stop talking, they'll go and give you a brain scan, look for a brain tumor or some reason why you stopped talking. So you pretty well have to keep talking, even though you know that these are not your thoughts. They're the thoughts that are given to you so that you can play in the great conscious drama that goes on planet Earth. You got to figure everyone that you know, if they all meditated, they would all know this, that these thoughts are not their thoughts, but they're thoughts that are given to you either to observe or to talk. And so, a lot of the things that people are given to talk, to say to you, you think, oh, that's like them. It's like them. They thought these up, and it's their fault. They said whatever they said. And in the back of your mind, you've got to step back and witness it. And you have to remember, even with you, that these are thoughts that are given to you to say as part of a script for the great drama comedy that's going on planet Earth, that's run by source fields, which is who created the source fields? Well, at some element, you've got to give it to a higher power, whatever you call higher power. I just call it G-O-D, but, maybe you call it source, or you call it is, or I don't know what you want to call it. But someone, somewhere, something creates these thoughts for us to say so that we can have a great play. A play in consciousness, the Ascended Master Sananda told me one time. That's what it is. So don't blame the person too much for what they say. Although to play the part, you're an actor in the movie with all the other actors in the movie of the reality game. This is what you're given, and sometimes, you have to, it drives you nuts because you're like, these stupid thoughts, I don't like this script, I don't want to go this way again. I want to run away and not say these words because I don't like the script. Anyway, that's a clue. You go meditate. Don't say anything and see all the thoughts that go wandering through your head. They're not created by your mind. Your mind, it's more like, in some ways, it's like a radio receiver, your brain, but your mind... I used to think my mind was my mind, but I just wanted it to be peace and quiet in there. And then all of a sudden you get telepathy, and people start yipping at you. But it's the game we play on planet Earth. Anyway, that's what I want you to do, is meditate and watch these thoughts. And to yourself, you can label them. Thinking. They're thinking. It's not me thinking. It's just thinking happening. Label them all. It's thinking. It's not me. I'm witnessing these thoughts, but they're, I didn't create these thoughts. Some people are like, that's when I went off about copyright. People saying, well, I got the words to my book and I wrote it all down. I jotted it all down and I put my name on it. Now I want to sell it at the bookstore for $25 each. Or, a song came to my head. And, I made this song and now I want the royalties from the song. No, it's just the same as these other thoughts that you don't speak that go wandering through your head. You didn't create them. You're just like tuned in as a radio. They're not yours. Don't put your name on them. But if you do, in the back of your head, remember what I told you. They're not really yours. Sometime we're going to go and break the copyrights and the royalties so they can be shared amongst people. And maybe they'll say, well, he was the first scribe that wrote them down, and maybe he had a decent voice. But, everyone, I don't know. It's very difficult to be human. Discover all this stuff. Welcome to Woodstock Hall.